On August 17, 1966, a young boy was flying a kite on a quiet hill called Morro do Vintum, in Niterói, Brazil. What he found would spark one of the strangest mysteries in modern history. Hidden in the brush were two lifeless bodies, lying side by side. No blood. No signs of struggle. No visible injuries. But the most bizarre detail, they were both wearing lead masks over their eyes. Thick, hand-cut metal coverings that made no sense. Who were they? Why were they dressed in suits, lying dead on a hill, wearing homemade masks? The investigation would only deepen the mystery, and raise even more disturbing questions. Police were immediately called to the scene. As they examined the bodies, more strange details emerged. The two men were dressed in formal suits, layered with waterproof raincoats. Next to them lay a plastic water bottle, two wet towels, and a small notebook. Inside the notebook was a single, chilling note. It read, 1630 be at the determined place. 1830 ingest capsules, after effect protect metals await signal mask. The handwriting was clear, but the meaning was not. What capsules? What signal? And why were they supposed to protect metals? Most importantly, why the lead masks? The answers would prove as cryptic as the note itself. Soon, the bodies were identified. Their names were Manuel Pereira de Cruz and Miguel José Viana. They were both electronic technicians from the town of Campos dos Goitacazes, about 200 kilometers away. Just a few days before their deaths, the two men had told their families they were traveling to São Paulo to buy materials for work. They packed tools, money, and a few changes of clothes, nothing unusual. But clearly, something about their true purpose had been left unsaid. Instead of going to São Paulo, they traveled to Niterói, a completely different city. And their journey ended with their mysterious deaths on the hill. Why lie about where they were going? What were they truly planning? The investigation revealed some strange purchases made by the two men in Niterói. They had bought waterproof raincoats, which seemed odd for an ordinary trip. But the most puzzling item was the lead sheets, which they had cut into makeshift masks. The masks were crudely made, no straps or fasteners to keep them in place, just pieces of lead placed over their faces while they lay down. It raised immediate questions. Why would they need lead sheets? What was the purpose of those masks? Along with the lead sheets, the men had bought a bottle of water from a local bar. The barmaid remembered them as nervous, constantly checking the time, almost as if they were waiting for something. It was clear that they had come to this place for a reason. But what was it? The most mysterious piece of evidence was the note found near the bodies. It wasn't just a simple reminder or shopping list. It was strange and filled with cryptic instructions. The note read, 1630 be at the determined place. 1830 ingest capsules, after effect protect metals await signal mask. The cryptic wording raised more questions than answers. What exactly did the note mean? Who had written it? And what was the significance of the capsules and signal? The idea of protect metals stood out. Why would they need protection from metals? The lead masks, the reference to capsules, and the precise times, everything about the note seemed like part of a larger plan. But what was that plan? The two men were taken to the local morgue, where autopsies were performed in an attempt to determine the cause of death. The results were inconclusive. There were no visible injuries on their bodies. No signs of poisoning. No external wounds. The only clue? Severe internal injuries. These injuries were inconsistent with trauma or violence and didn't fit any normal cause of death. But what could have caused such damage without any obvious external signs? Even stranger, despite these unusual injuries, there were no traces of toxins or drugs in their systems. The two men had died under mysterious and unexplained circumstances. Were the capsules from the note involved? Had they taken something that caused their internal injuries? The lack of answers only deepened the mystery. As the investigation progressed, several theories started to emerge, though none could fully explain the strange events. One early theory was poisoning. Had the men ingested something toxic before their deaths? The note mentioned capsules, but the autopsy found no trace of any poison or drug in their systems. If it was poisoning, why didn't it leave any signs? Why wasn't there any trace of poison, even in their stomachs? Another theory was that the men may have suffered from hallucinogenic substances, possibly related to the era's fascination with spiritualism and mind-altering substances. But the lack of external signs made this seem unlikely. Yet, some investigators pointed to a psychological factor. Could the men have been caught in some kind of mass hysteria or ritualistic trance? Perhaps they believed the masks and capsules were part of a larger spiritual experiment. What if the masks were meant to protect them from something they feared, something not visible to the naked eye? As the investigation continued, a more extraterrestrial theory began to surface. Brazil in the 1960s was no stranger to reports of UFO sightings, and many locals believed the men's strange deaths were somehow related to alien contact. According to witnesses, unusual lights had been seen in the sky around the time of their deaths. Some described the lights as bright, hovering, and moving erratically over the area. Was it possible the two men were trying to make contact with these unidentified lights? Were the lead masks a form of protection against alien radiation or a signal for extraterrestrial beings? This theory was further fueled by the timing noted in the cryptic message. The precise instructions in the note, 1630 for the meeting, 1830 for ingesting the capsules, seemed to align with the idea that the men were expecting something to happen at a specific moment in time. Had they taken the capsules in an attempt to enhance their senses or make contact with beings from another world? The idea of an alien connection sparked further interest, but it also raised more questions than answers. Another theory that gained traction involved spiritualism. In 1960s Brazil, spiritualism was growing in popularity, especially among intellectuals and those interested in the mystical. The idea that the two men might have been attempting to reach a higher state of consciousness or connect with the spirit world became a strong possibility. Both men had ties to a local spiritualist group. It was said they had recently shown interest in experiments related to mental projection and astral travel, concepts where individuals try to transcend their physical bodies in search of otherworldly experiences. Perhaps the capsules mentioned in the note were a form of psychedelic drug or meditation aid designed to help them achieve this altered state of consciousness. The lead masks, in this context, could have been a method to protect their minds from external distractions or even some perceived danger during their spiritual journey. Could they have believed that the masks were necessary for them to safely reach this otherworldly dimension? And did something go wrong during the process? As the mystery continued to baffle investigators, another theory began to emerge, the possibility that the two men were part of a secret cult or occult group. Some speculated that the men had been involved in ritualistic practices, possibly linked to ritual suicides or a sacrifice. The precise nature of their deaths, the lead masks, and the cryptic note all pointed to something that felt far beyond ordinary death. It was suggested that they may have taken the capsules as part of a ritualistic initiation, or perhaps to achieve some kind of transcendence. The masks, in this theory, were meant to protect them during the ritual or as a symbol of purification. But if it was a cult, why were there no other members found at the scene? Where was the leader? And if it was a suicide pact, why not leave a clearer message? Despite the bizarre details, the occult theory remained speculative, with no clear answers. The absence of any clear witnesses or connections left only more questions. As weeks passed, the investigation into the lead masks case grew colder. Despite extensive efforts by local authorities, no new evidence came forward. No one came forward claiming to have seen the men before their deaths, and no one could provide more insight into the strange circumstances surrounding the case. The autopsies were inconclusive. The note, while filled with cryptic instructions, provided no further clarity. The bodies showed no signs of trauma, poisoning, or external injury. Local theories continued to swirl. Some said the men had been involved in some kind of illegal activity or smuggling, but this theory lacked any concrete evidence. Others believed they had been killed by a third party, though there was no sign of a struggle or theft at the scene. It seemed like the truth, whatever it might be, was buried in a fog of speculation and mystery. As the case was eventually closed, the legend of the lead masks case took on a life of its own. People talked about it in whispers, imagining what could have truly happened on that remote hillside in Niterói. But as the years passed, no answers were found, and the strange deaths of Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana would remain one of Brazil's most enduring and unsolved mysteries. Though the official investigation was closed, the lead masks case didn't fade into history. In the years following the mysterious deaths, the case would resurface in various forms, through articles, documentaries, and public fascination. It became an iconic mystery, often cited in discussions about unsolved enigmas. Over time, new theories were proposed, and new investigators re-examined the evidence with fresh eyes. One of the most curious aspects of the case was the location of the discovery, Morro do Vintém, a hill with a long history of mysterious activity. Locals had often spoken of strange lights in the sky, unexplained phenomena, and other paranormal occurrences in the area. Was it possible that the hill itself held some kind of significance? Could the men have been drawn there by a force beyond their understanding? Despite the lack of physical evidence, some people remained convinced that there was something supernatural at play. The lead masks continued to intrigue, serving as a symbol of the strange and unknown. The lead masks became an enduring symbol of the case, almost as if they held the key to understanding what had really happened. Many theorists wondered if the masks were a form of protection, maybe from some kind of external influence, whether radiation, mind control, or something even stranger. Over time, the masks began to take on mythic proportions, becoming a part of popular culture in Brazil and beyond. The case was mentioned in books, films, and even discussions of extraterrestrial encounters. Some believed the masks were meant to shield the men from the aftereffects of some kind of psychic or paranormal experience, while others felt they were part of a ritualistic protection, as if the masks had spiritual significance that had not yet been understood. As more people looked into the case, the symbolism of the masks was heavily debated. Were they a way of preparing the men for something, or did they mark an attempt to connect with an unknown force? The mask's significance continued to be a focal point of speculation, as it seemed clear that whoever had designed them had a deep understanding of symbolism, but the mystery was still far from being solved. As more time passed, the involvement of spiritualism in the case continued to draw attention. Brazil in the 1960s was a place where spiritualist beliefs were widespread, with people experimenting with astral projection, mediumship, and other forms of mystical practices. Both Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana had known ties to a spiritualist group, and some believed they may have been involved in an experiment to reach an alternate plane of existence. The capsules mentioned in the note were considered by some to be a kind of mind-expanding substance, possibly linked to attempts to alter their consciousness and communicate with the spiritual world. Spiritualism often involved rituals designed to enhance one's psychic abilities, and perhaps the two men believed they could transcend their physical bodies during their journey. But if so, why didn't they survive? Had they believed the lead masks would protect them during this mystical journey? And why was there no clear explanation for how they died? Theories involving the spiritualist community gained more traction in the years following the incident, though, like every other theory, it offered only more questions. As the years passed and the theories continued to grow, some began to consider the possibility that the lead masks case was a tragic mistake rather than a carefully planned ritual or alien encounter. Could the two men have been involved in some kind of misguided experiment? Perhaps they had heard about certain techniques to expand consciousness or achieve altered states, and in their attempts to test these methods, they miscalculated the risks. The capsules they ingested might have been harmless, or they could have been meant to induce a state of hallucination or euphoria, but the lead masks could have been intended to protect their physical bodies while their minds went on a journey. What if they had simply made a fatal error in dosage or timing? This theory suggested that the men were not part of a grand conspiracy or mystical ritual, but rather ordinary people who had become victims of their own curiosity, making one last mistake that cost them their lives. While this theory doesn't provide all the answers, it does offer an explanation that fits the available facts. There were no signs of foul play, no connection to aliens or cults, just two men who perhaps ventured too far into the unknown. As time went on, the lead masks case became something more than just an unsolved mystery. It evolved into a local legend in Brazil, especially in the Niterói area where the two men had been found. Locals who knew about the case often spoke of it with a mixture of awe and fear. The area around Morro do Vintum, where the bodies were discovered, became a site of pilgrimages for people fascinated by the strange story. Some claimed to have experienced eerie sensations while visiting the hill, feeling as though they were being watched by an unseen presence. The hill itself took on a mystical reputation, with some believing it was haunted or had a strange energy that affected those who ventured near it. Stories spread of strange lights in the sky, unexplained noises, and a feeling of being in the presence of something otherworldly. Though the case remained unsolved, it became clear that the mystery had taken on a life of its own, one that was inseparable from the landscape and the community. In a way, the story of the two men and their masks had become part of the folklore of Brazil. In the decades that followed the deaths of Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana, the case began to resurface in new ways. With the advent of modern technology, including online forums and social media, people began to revisit the mystery, bringing fresh perspectives and ideas to the table. Online researchers and amateur sleuths started analyzing every piece of evidence with the power of the internet. They uncovered details that hadn't been considered before, including obscure reports and eyewitness accounts that were previously overlooked by authorities. Some new theories emerged, such as the idea that the men were involved in cryptic communications with a secret organization or even that they had been targeted because of their knowledge of a technology or project that was too dangerous for them to share. While these new theories didn't solve the case, they kept the public's interest alive. Documentaries, articles, and even podcasts began to feature the lead masks case, sparking renewed debate and speculation. Despite the passage of time, it seemed the mystery still had a way of capturing people's imagination, and in many ways, it remained as elusive as ever. As the mystery of the lead masks case gained new attention, many individuals began to draw parallels between the deaths and reports of UFO sightings from the 1960s. This was a time when ufology, the study of unidentified flying objects, was starting to gain significant public interest, especially in Brazil. In the years leading up to the deaths of Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana, there were numerous reports of strange lights and unexplained phenomena in the sky across Brazil. Some believed that the men had been involved in an attempt to make contact with extraterrestrial life, and that the lead masks were meant to shield them from some kind of alien radiation or a psychedelic effect brought on by such an encounter. The idea that the two men had been part of an experiment to communicate or even transport their consciousness to another realm, perhaps an extraterrestrial one, became a popular theory among UFO enthusiasts. Many speculated that the capsules they had ingested were meant to enhance their connection to the unknown, and the lead masks were a form of protection, either from external forces or as a way to safeguard their minds during an encounter with alien beings. This theory gained momentum, especially when strange lights were reported in the area on the evening of their deaths. In the years following the deaths of Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana, a handful of eyewitness testimonies emerged, further fueling the UFO theory. Locals living near Morro do Vintum claimed to have seen strange lights in the sky on the same evening the men were found dead. The lights were described as bright, erratic, and often described as moving in ways that defied conventional aircraft behavior. One eyewitness, a farmer who lived near the hill, reported seeing a glowing object hovering in the sky for several hours. The object appeared to change shape and even seemed to blink in and out of visibility, a characteristic often associated with UFO sightings of the era. Another resident recalled hearing a strange, low humming sound just before nightfall, as if something large was flying nearby. This corroborated the earlier reports of unusual phenomena in the area and led many to believe that UFOs had somehow been involved in the deaths of the two men. This combination of eyewitness accounts and the connection to UFO sightings at the time gave the theory of an alien encounter more weight. Could the lead masks have been meant to protect the men from alien radiation or other extraterrestrial effects? Amidst the growing speculation about UFOs and extraterrestrial involvement, another theory started to gain ground: the potential involvement of the Brazilian military. During the 1960s, Brazil had a strained political climate, and the military was deeply engaged in intelligence operations related to both national security and the ongoing Cold War. Some theorists suggested that the two men may have unknowingly stumbled upon information or a secret military project, possibly linked to experimental technologies or research involving UFOs. It was known that Brazil, like many other countries during the era, had a growing interest in UFOs, and the military had conducted its own investigations into aerial phenomena. The idea that Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana might have been working for the military or investigating a secret government project was not entirely far-fetched. Perhaps the capsules they ingested were part of a military experiment, and the lead masks were designed to protect them from harmful effects or even radiation. Some suggested the men had been silenced to keep them from revealing something they had discovered, something linked to military technology or a cover-up related to UFO sightings. While there was no concrete evidence to support this theory, the absence of any clear explanations left it open to interpretation. Another intriguing theory that gained traction was the possibility that the two men were involved in an occult or esoteric belief system that led to their strange deaths. Both Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana had a strong interest in spiritualism and mysticism. Some investigators suggested that the lead masks were part of a ritualistic practice, designed to protect the men as they attempted to reach a higher state of consciousness or even communicate with spiritual entities. During the 1960s, Brazil saw an increase in the popularity of occult practices, from astrology and alchemy to magical rituals. It was believed that the men may have been trying to perform a ritual that involved the masks as a form of spiritual protection or as a method of preventing negative spiritual forces from interfering with their journey. The capsules they ingested could have been part of an attempt to enhance their connection to the spirit world, either through psychedelic substances or other mystical means. Some even believed that the ritual may have gone wrong, leading to the tragic deaths of the two men. However, the absence of any direct evidence linking the deaths to occultism or spiritualism left this theory speculative at best. But for those who believed in the supernatural, it was one of the more convincing possibilities. Over time, the lead masks case began to attract international attention, as people from around the world became intrigued by the mystery. It wasn't just a story about two men and their strange deaths, it became part of the larger conversation about unsolved mysteries, UFOs, and the unknown. As the 1960s progressed, global interest in alien encounters and paranormal phenomena grew, influenced by books, documentaries, and news reports that touched on similar stories of unexplained deaths and mysterious occurrences. The lead masks case found its place within this narrative, often cited as one of the most bizarre and enduring mysteries of its time. Books and articles about UFOs began to include the case as a notable example of extraterrestrial involvement in human affairs. Documentaries exploring strange deaths and mysterious disappearances featured it as a prime example of an unsolved enigma. The case even inspired fictional accounts, with writers and filmmakers using it as a backdrop for their stories about alien intervention or supernatural experiences. While the exact cause of death remained elusive, the case's place in popular culture was solidified, and it became a symbol of the strange, unexplained, and often eerie events that shape our world. The mystery surrounding the deaths of Cruz and Viana lived on, inspiring future generations to explore the unknown. Even after decades of silence, the lead masks case continues to provoke intense speculation and theories. As with many famous unsolved mysteries, the more time that passes, the more imaginative and far-reaching the explanations become. In the years since the deaths of Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana, people have proposed dozens of theories, from the logical to the bizarre. Some believe the men were part of an experimental drug trial gone wrong, others think they may have stumbled upon dangerous information and were silenced, while still others hold to the theory that they were trying to make contact with alien life. In particular, the involvement of UFOs in the case remains a focal point. For many, the case serves as a symbol of humanity's uncertainty about the unknown, whether that unknown is the spirit world, extraterrestrial beings, or psychological phenomena. The mystery of their deaths may never be solved, but it has continued to spark a collective curiosity. Could the deaths have been the result of a misadventure? A secret military experiment? Or was it, as some have suggested, an attempt to transcend earthly existence in a way that no one could have predicted? Whatever the answer, the Lead Masks case remains one of the great unsolved mysteries of the 20th century, a story that defies explanation and continues to captivate those who seek answers to the strange and unexplained. Over the years, the Lead Masks case also took on psychological significance for some. It became a story not just about strange deaths, but about the human psyche and the lengths people might go to in pursuit of understanding the unknown. Some theorists believe that Manuel Pereira de Cruz and Miguel José Viana were obsessed with discovering something beyond the material world. Their interest in spiritualism, the occult, and even UFOs was not simply curiosity, it was driven by a deep need to transcend their limitations and reach higher states of being. This drive, some suggest, could have led them to make a fatal mistake. In their pursuit of enlightenment or contact with extraterrestrial entities, they may have miscalculated the risks involved in their actions. The lead masks and capsules they took could have been seen as tools to unlock the mysteries of the universe, but perhaps they were unaware of the physical consequences. Psychologists studying the case speculated that the men may have been victims of groupthink, delusion, or shared psychosis. Could they have convinced each other to follow through on a dangerous experiment, believing that it would lead them to profound discoveries, only to meet an untimely and unexplained end? In some ways, the Lead Masks case speaks to a deeper human desire to understand the incomprehensible, a desire that can sometimes lead to disastrous consequences when we push too far beyond our limits. Despite the passage of time, new investigations into the Lead Masks case continued to arise, fueled by both professional researchers and amateur enthusiasts. The mystery was too compelling to let go of, and the growing influence of social media and online communities brought fresh perspectives and theories that had not been considered in the past. As technology advanced, new ways of studying old evidence became possible. Forensic experts and paranormal investigators began re-examining the autopsy reports and photographs from the scene, searching for clues that might have been overlooked in the original investigation. Some suggested that modern forensic techniques, such as advanced toxicology tests or analysis of the clothing the men wore, might yield new insights. Could there have been traces of substances in their bodies that hadn't been detected in 1966? Or was there something in their environment that could explain the unusual circumstances surrounding their deaths? At the same time, the UFO theory continued to draw interest. With more people sharing their experiences of strange aerial phenomena and unexplained lights in the sky, some believed that the men had somehow been involved in a larger extraterrestrial event, perhaps a first contact scenario that went horribly wrong. As time went on, the Lead Masks case continued to inspire a wide array of stories in popular culture. Whether in books, films, or even in the realm of music, the case became a symbol of the unknown, an enigma that could never fully be explained, but which still captured the imagination of people all over the world. Several fictionalized accounts of the case were produced, often blending the facts with elements of science fiction or horror. Some stories depicted the two men as unwitting pawns in an alien experiment, while others explored the idea that they were engaged in a ritualistic journey designed to bring them into contact with something far beyond human understanding. In some of these depictions, the lead masks took on even more symbolic meaning, representing the veil between the known and the unknown, the living and the dead. They were seen not just as a tool of protection, but as a barrier separating the men from the realities they were trying to reach. The mystery continued to intrigue filmmakers, who used the story as inspiration for films that explored similar themes of mind-altering substances, alien encounters, and forbidden knowledge. The case was sometimes mentioned in documentaries on unexplained phenomena, with new generations coming to the story and wondering what had really happened to Cruz and Viana. Despite the passage of time, the lead masks case remained relevant, part of a larger conversation about mysteries that defy explanation. As the lead masks case continued to be explored by researchers, enthusiasts, and the general public, it became clear that the legacy of the case was far more significant than the mystery itself. Over time, it had grown into a cultural touchstone, a story that exemplified humanity's fascination with the unknown and the lengths people will go to uncover it. In Brazil, the case became a symbol of the unexplained and an example of the strange, often inexplicable events that occasionally occur within the confines of everyday life. For many, it represented the human quest for truth, and the sense that sometimes, the answers to the most mysterious questions may never be fully revealed. It also sparked a renaissance in the study of UFOs and paranormal phenomena in Brazil. Researchers from various fields, whether in ufology, spiritualism, or cryptozoology, pointed to the case as one of the most profound examples of the intersection between the mysterious and the real. The case became a touchstone for future investigations into bizarre disappearances and strange deaths. As the years went by, tourists began visiting the site where the men were found, and some even attempted to retrace their steps, searching for clues or signs of the men's final journey. For many, it had become a pilgrimage, a way to connect with the mystery that had captivated the imagination of so many. The Lead Masks case, in all its unresolved ambiguity, had become a permanent part of Brazilian folklore, one of those mysteries that refuses to be solved, yet never loses its ability to fascinate. Despite the years of investigation, the Lead Masks case remains shrouded in unanswered questions. No definitive explanation has ever been given for the strange deaths of Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana. What exactly led to their deaths that night on Morro do Vintum remains one of Brazil's most enduring unsolved mysteries. The lead masks, seemingly a key element in the case, still provoke debate. Why did the men wear them? Was it part of a protective ritual, a scientific experiment, or an attempt to shield themselves from something unknown? The capsules they ingested further deepened the mystery. Were they a form of psychedelic drug, meant to induce an altered state of consciousness? Or were they part of a more elaborate plan to connect with an external force? Even the circumstances of their final journey, whether it was a planned ritualistic act, an attempt to meet with extraterrestrial life, or a dangerous experiment, remain unclear. Despite the theories proposed over the years, no new evidence has conclusively answered these questions. The case continues to leave more questions than answers, with each new theory offering more possibilities but no firm conclusions. Even as the years have passed, the mystery surrounding the deaths of Cruz and Viana continues to tantalize those who seek the truth. It remains a case where the line between the possible and the impossible is still drawn in uncertain, blurry lines. The Lead Masks case has gone on to inspire not only books, documentaries, and films, but also a cultural movement within the broader realm of mystery culture. As the decades passed, the case's influence spread far beyond Brazil, shaping the way many people thought about unsolved mysteries. In the internet age, the case has found a new life in the form of online forums, blogs, and podcasts dedicated to unsolved mysteries and paranormal phenomena. True crime enthusiasts, UFO hunters, and those fascinated by mystical rituals continue to dissect every detail of the case, looking for clues and connections to other historical events and modern-day mysteries. The Lead Masks case has become an iconic part of the mystery genre, often cited alongside other perplexing events like the Dyatlov Pass incident or the disappearance of Flight 19. It serves as an example of how an unsolved case can evolve into something much larger, becoming not just a mystery to solve, but a cultural phenomenon that fuels a sense of shared curiosity and wonder. Every year, new generations of mystery seekers return to the case, searching for answers, or simply trying to make sense of the strange elements of the story. Whether they are motivated by a desire for truth, a thirst for adventure, or just a fascination with the unexplainable, the Lead Masks case continues to resonate with those who are drawn to the unknown. As the Lead Masks case enters its fifth decade, it remains as much a mystery today as it was in the days following the deaths of Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana. Despite numerous theories, ranging from extraterrestrial involvement to occult rituals, scientific experiments, and psychological misadventures, the true cause of their deaths remains unexplained. There is no closure to the story, no neat solution that satisfies everyone. The case lives on in the imagination of those who seek to understand the unknown, and it continues to serve as a reminder of how mysteries can both fascinate and frustrate. Over time, the lead masks case has become more than just a story of strange deaths. It has transformed into a cultural symbol of the human pursuit to answer the unanswerable, and the case's unresolved nature speaks to the limits of our understanding. Sometimes, no matter how much we seek answers, the mystery endures, tantalizing us with its incomplete fragments and unanswered questions. In the end, the lead masks case remains a profound enigma, a testament to the strange and mysterious forces that may be out there, waiting to be discovered, whether in the depths of the human mind or in the vastness of the universe itself. And so, the mystery continues.